I'm New Jersey Secretary of Agriculture Doug Fisher. Whether you like them sweet or spicy, Jersey Fresh bell and hot peppers liven up any dish, and they are in season now at your favorite farm market, farm stand, or supermarket. Stay loyal to local Jersey Fresh peppers.
A town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
He is hit! He stumbles! He's down!
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City.
Josh Hennig, Sports Bash Saturday, 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. But we are live, as always, on YouTube and Twitter. Only here for about a half hour today. Baseball coming on at 12:30 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN. So we are bridging the gap to more programming coming up on 97.3 ESPN. As always, you can chime in for the half hour. Text board 609-403-0973. You can message the show through 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Priority messaging thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And like I said, we are live on YouTube and Twitter. You can join the conversation there as well. Just a little rundown what the schedule is today. Tampa Bay Rays versus Chicago White Sox, 12:30 today on 97.3 ESPN. NFL preseason action tonight. Dallas Cowboys versus Houston Texans here on 97.3 ESPN FM. And, of course, we are less than a week away from the final Eagles preseason game, which is coming up on Friday night here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 6:30. Hey, the Phillies won a game last night. How about them apples? Phillies finally won a game. And, by the way, they've now won 2 straight starts with Matt Moore on the mound. That's where we're going to get started here before we get to the football stuff. Because, you know, I'm watching the Phillies game. Well, first of all, as I mentioned to Billy Schweim earlier in the locker room, I watched most of the NFL preseason action on ESPN. And then when I got the alert on my phone that the Phillies game was starting, I flipped it over to the Phillies channel. And I'm thinking they might win this game. And I was honestly shocked that they won the game. I mean, you walked 11 batters. It barely got any hits. They barely survived to win that game. And I'm thinking, I don't know what's more crazy. The fact that Andy Reid played his starters for almost the entire first half in the preseason game, or the fact that the Phillies barely won a game after walking 11 guys. It was absolutely nuts. And it got me to thinking, you know, this Phillies team and this Eagles team, they're going in such different directions right now. You know, the Phillies are a team that, because of the players that they signed, guys like Harper a couple of years ago, trading for GT Realmuto and re-signing him, bringing back Gregorius, having Andrew McCutchen, this team is built to win now. They're not built to rebuild. And that's the problem with the Phillies. You know, the Phillies, the Clintac era completely ruined this franchise. Whereas the Eagles are in a turnover year. This is a retool, recalibration, rebuilding kind of year. And the reason why that's important to remember is because, you know, Billy Schwein was showing me the newspaper, the Daily News, what they were saying about the Eagles. And, you know, I got to tell you guys, you know, part of the reason why they said, you know, what they did in the paper is because it's to sell newspapers in part, but also because, you know, there are people who do feel that way. There are people who are freaking out because the Eagles lost a preseason game 35-0. And there's people right now who are breathing a sigh of relief because you have an individual in Bryce Harper and his Phillies team. They found a way to win last night. And I still don't know how the Phillies are winning games with Matt Moore on the mound. He is arguably their worst starting pitcher, but they found a way. And it's always interesting to watch all, you know, when you're in a city like Philadelphia, right, that's got all 4 teams. You know, some cities in this country, they don't have all 4 teams, so it's hard to gauge a fan base. Like a city like Atlanta, you they have baseball, they have football, they have basketball, but they don't have hockey. And Atlanta fans, you could argue it's an SEC country, so it's like, what do they care about more? Do they really care about the basketball team unless they're winning? They don't really care about the baseball team when they're winning, especially considering where the baseball team is located. Apparently, it's one of the hardest ballparks to get to in the entire country in terms of city infrastructure. But, in a city like Philadelphia, where you have all four teams, it's interesting to see the fans and how they react to these things. And I was just telling the guys in the last segment of their show, you could make an argument that the teams are all going in different directions right now. They're all in like different stages of development and growth and trying to win. The Phillies are legitimately a few players away from being legitimate contenders. In the National League, to me, the Dodgers are the best team. Giants and Brewers are second and third, and then the Padres are fourth. That's how I look at the National League. The Phillies are not one of the four best teams. They're not going to win the World Series. But there are at least three players away from actually being in that conversation. Bryce Harper still has to be in the MVP conversation because of the year he's having, because of the fact that the Phillies are still in it, trying to win it. And you look around the National League, the only guy that you really can say is the front runner for the MVP is Fernando Tatis Jr. And as long as he stays healthy, he probably wins it. But if he doesn't stay healthy, because he's had the issues with the shoulder all year long, it's part of the reason why he's playing in the outfield, because he had the most errors in all of baseball as a shortstop. But Harper's in the conversation, and Zach Wheeler's in the conversation for Cy Young. Depending on who you ask, excuse me, I guess you could say guys like Walker Buehler are in the conversation. Also Corbin Burns of the Brewers. He has to be in that conversation. I'm trying to remember the other pitcher's name who's having a really good year. Brandon Woodruff. Brandon Woodruff's having a very good year. So, you could argue one of the Brewers pitchers are in the conversation, but Wheeler's in the conversation, definitely. For you to have two guys in the conversation for the two biggest awards in the National League tells you that they're not far away if they have that kind of talent on the team. So Dombrowski was brought in here to win. So I expect this team to make some serious changes this offseason to set themselves up to be able to contend better next year than this year. And if they win the division, great. If they don't, it allows Dombrowski basically a blank check to basically overhaul the roster outside maybe three players. Now, the Eagles are a completely different situation. The Eagles fired their Super Bowl winning head coach. They traded their franchise quarterback. They are literally in a year of transition. The reason why the Eagles are at 6.5 over under for wins is not because they're a bad football team, but because they're in a year of transition. So whatever happens this year is going to be setting the groundwork for what happens moving forward. So if Jalen Hurts plays well this year, then the Eagles can go into the draft and not have to worry about a quarterback. If Jalen Hurts has a bad year this year or a mediocre, below average kind of year, then you go into the draft and you go and get a quarterback, and you have the draft ammunition to do that. You also get to find out about the future of this team on the defensive side of the ball. If this is a new defensive coordinator with a completely different defense, the Philadelphia has not seen a defense like what Gannon is going to put out there in a very long time. Under Doug Peterson and Jim Schwartz, they ran the wide nine with a lot of man coverage on the outside, and they got burned a lot. You won't go with the Billy Davis defense, a 3-4 defense that they never really had the right personnel for that defense. They never really had the right players 100% to run that defense properly. And then the end of the Andy Reid era, after Jim Johnson was no longer with us, they bounced around between Sean McDermott and the Juan Castillo experiment. And it all went, sideways. So there's a possibility that Gannon's style of defense is going to not just make this team better than they were last year, but recalibrate them to move forward and be a better defense. And then last but not least, you can't forget about the Flyers and the Sixers. The Sixers are literally a player away, in my opinion, from being a contender for the NBA title. They have a superstar in Joel Embiid already. They have legitimate bench depth. They have shooters on this team. I just don't know if Ben Simmons is the guy that is going to help you win a championship at this point. Because the problem is that with a guy like Tobias Harris on the team, Ben has to be more than just the guy playing defense who sets guys up. He has to be able to make free throws. He has to be able to be assertive in big moments. He can't shy away from the big moment. He can't be afraid to have the ball in his hand. You can't win a championship with Ben Simmons the way he's been the last 2 years. So to me, the Sixers are a player away. And then the Flyers are the most intriguing team in Philadelphia right now because they had the biggest offseason. I mean, they made tons of trades. They overhauled the roster. They recalibrated the entire locker room. They were serious about saying we were not good enough, and last year was unacceptable. So the Flyers, you could argue, if Carter Hart plays well this year and he bounces back from a rough year last year, this team could be in contention for the Cup. Remember, 2 years ago, they were the number 1 seed in the NHL bubble. And it wasn't an accident. It was because of Carter Hart. So, listen, there's a lot of interesting storylines with the teams in Philadelphia. And it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And we will here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, we got a bunch of messages to get to. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. We're also live on YouTube and Twitter, where you can join the conversation. Also, you can message the show directly through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. We'll get to Dan and EHT. Also, Steven chiming in on the YouTube channel. Get to all your messages coming up next. Josh Hennig here, Sports Bash Saturday. Only here for 30 minutes. Tampa Bay versus Chicago White Sox coming up at 12:30 right here on 97.3 ESPN FM.
Tonight on Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL. It's a Lone Star State battle, and bragging rights are on the line as the Dallas Cowboys host the Houston Texans. Hi, this is Jerry Recco. Join Kevin Ray, Danny White, and myself for all the action as the preseason continues on. Will the Cowboys find the win column, or can the Texans make it 2 wins in a row? It's the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans. If it's the NFL, it's right here.
Coverage begins at 7:30 on 97.3 ESPN.
New Jersey car owners, stop what you're doing and come see AJ, the trade-in man, at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Cancel that service appointment. Let your tires go bald. Don't put another penny in that old car. The value of your current vehicle has skyrocketed, so cash in your vehicle now. Used car values are at an all-time high. Your car may be worth more than you think. New 2021 Nissan Frontier 4x4 truck. 0 due at signing. Lease $349 per month. Stuck in a loan or lease? We can get you released. We'll buy your car for cash, even if you don't buy a car from us. Worried about your credits? Don't sweat it. Get $3,000 back on every 2021 Nissan Murano and pay 0 interest for 60 months in Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot, or online at mattblattnissan.com. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. Rate qualifications exist. Not all will qualify. 0% APR based on $1,667 per thousand borrowed. Offers can't be combined. 36-month, 10,000 miles per year lease. Call 877-289-6670 or go to mattblattnissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 9/6/21. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Hey guys, are you afraid of taking off your shirt in public? Don't be embarrassed. Just say, I love Lyle back instead with male breast reduction. Many men develop a fullness in their chest as boys that persists and even worsens as they get older. This condition is called gynecomastia, and with simple liposuction, most cases can be effectively treated. Call 856-MAKEOVER today to schedule your private consultation with Dr. Lyle and Back. That's 856-MAKEOVER or visit iloveLyleBack.com.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig back here, Sports Bash Saturday, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live on YouTube and Twitter. We'll get to all your messages before we get out of here. Only here for a short amount of time today, bridging the gap from Billy Schreiber in the locker room to Tampa Bay Rays versus Chicago White Sox coming up on the other side right here on 97.3 ESPN. Oh, the Phillies are going to play Tampa Bay next week. They come back to Philadelphia from their West Coast road trip. Who they got? Oh, Tampa Bay, playoff contender. Go from the Padres to the Rays. Not an easy stretch, but they won the game last night. So there's a tiny bit of positive to hang on to. Let's get to your messages out there. Text board 609-403-0973. Also, you get priority messaging through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Download for free. Message the show through the app. You get your messages read before any other messages. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And we are live on YouTube and Twitter. Dan EHT says, I can't complain about Philly sports in a half-hour show, Josh. Well, you actually could. I mean, you could have sent a text there complaining, and I would have read it. But you didn't send a text complaining, so that's on you, Dan. Steve chimes in and says, he says, I think the Phillies have the pieces, but they can't sustain long success like the Braves could. And he also agrees with me. He says, Clintack ruined it, the Phillies, and he's still there. Yeah, a couple things. One, look, nobody disagrees on Clintack. If anybody disagrees on Clintack's role in messing up the Phillies organization, then I got to question your sanity. But, overall, listen, I was asked back in July who I thought was going to win the division, and I thought it was the Braves. And I was criticized for that comment because I believed that the Braves at the time had more ammunition. And through the most of the month of July, the Braves were making the moves, the Phillies weren't. Then when August turned, I thought, okay, the Phillies have a better chance now to win the division than they did before the deadline. But after losing 4 straight and over a 9-game stretch, only scoring 2.3 runs per game, I've been convinced that the Phillies may have the talent, but I don't know if they are going to be able to get over the hump. And I think what frustrates me most with the Phillies is that I know they can play better. I know they can do better. I know they are a good baseball team and they are an effective baseball team, but apparently they just can't get it done. By the way, Steve also says over on YouTube, says, the Phillies miss the division by a few games. I hope Dombrowski knows what he needs to do, an impact bat, another start on a bullpen arm. I think Dombrowski already knows what this team needs. I think that Dombrowski came into this season knowing that this was an evaluation year, that he was never going to get this team where he wants to get it fully this year. And I thought the intention was for Dombrowski, because everywhere he goes, he makes changes in the offseason after his first year. And he keeps making changes till he gets the team right, whether it was in Boston with the Red Sox, Detroit with the Tigers, or with the Miami Marlins, who ended up winning the 97 World Series. Dombrowski's got 2 rings for a reason. Don't forget about that. He's got some rings on his fingers with the Red Sox and with the Marlins, and he got the Tigers to a couple World Series because he knows what goes into winning a championship and how to rebuild a roster. By the way, I got some good news for all of you. We are a week away from the start of college football season. Next week is week 0, and I am excited. So next week on game night on 97.3 ESPN, we got a lot of football to get to next week on the show. Don't forget, tomorrow in the locker room with Billy Schwein, he and Pete Thompson are hanging out with you for 10 a.m. noon. Their special guest tomorrow is Merrill Reese, the voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, which you hear every Eagles preseason and regular season and postseason game right here on your home for Eagles football in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great weekend, everybody.